It hasn't rained in days, not a single cloud, not even a hint of moisture in the sky. The ground is dry, the air feels still, and everything around you suggests the same obvious conclusion. There is no water here, and yet, right in front of you, something impossible is happening. Drop by drop, slow but steady, water is forming out of nowhere. It gathers, it slides, and then it falls into a container below, as if an invisible source is feeding it. No pipes, no electricity, no hidden tank. Just air. And the strange part is, this isn't a trick, and it's not new. In fact, it's something people have known for a very long time. Something so simple and so effective that once you see it, you start to wonder why it isn't everywhere. What you're looking at is water being pulled directly from the air around you, not filtered, not pumped, not stored in advance, extracted. And the method behind it is so basic that it almost feels like cheating. Because right now, wherever you are, the air surrounding you is holding water. Invisible, weightless, suspended all around you. You can't see it, but it's there, constantly moving, constantly shifting. The only thing missing is a way to collect it. And that's where this forgotten method comes in. Before explaining how it works, there's something important to understand. This is not a new invention, it's not experimental, and it's definitely not untested. Variations of this technique have been used in different parts of the world for generations. In places where rainfall is unreliable, where wells run dry, and where access to clean water is limited, people have relied on the air itself as a source. Coastal villages, mountain communities, dry regions where survival depends on using what's available. They've all used this principle in one form or another. The only reason it feels unfamiliar now is because most people stopped needing it. And that's where things get interesting. Because the reason you probably haven't heard much about this isn't because it doesn't work. It's actually the opposite. It works so well, and it's so simple, that it doesn't fit into systems built around complexity and dependency. There's nothing to sell, nothing to maintain, nothing to upgrade. Once you understand it, you can build it, and once you build it, it just works. Quietly, consistently, without asking for anything in return. But here's the part that changes everything. You've already seen this process your entire life. You just didn't think of it this way. Think about a cold glass of water on a warm day. After a few minutes, droplets begin to form on the outside of the glass. That water didn't come from inside the glass. It came from the air. The same thing happens every morning when dew forms on grass, covering entire fields in moisture that wasn't there the night before. Even spider webs collect tiny droplets overnight, turning into delicate chains of water suspended in the air. These aren't separate phenomena. They're all the same process happening under different conditions. At the center of all of this is something called the dew point. It's a temperature threshold. When air cools down to that point, it can no longer hold all the moisture it contains. The excess has to go somewhere. And when it comes into contact with a surface that's cool enough, it condenses. It turns from vapor into liquid. And once it becomes liquid, gravity takes over. The droplets grow, merge, and eventually fall. That's the entire system. No hidden mechanisms, no complicated steps, just physics doing what it always does. So what you're really building is not a machine, but an opportunity. A surface that gives the air a place to release its moisture. A structure that allows droplets to form, combine, and move downward into a collection point. And the larger and more efficient that surface is, the more water you can gather. It's not about forcing water to appear. It's about creating the conditions where it naturally does. The setup itself is surprisingly simple. At its core, it's just a frame and a mesh. The mesh acts as the surface where condensation forms, and the frame holds it in place at the right angle. Below it, a collection system catches the water as it drips down. There are no moving parts, no power source, no switches. You set it up and it begins working as soon as the conditions are right, often during the night when temperatures drop and humidity shifts. And this is where most people underestimate its potential, because the results don't come from complexity, they come from consistency. A small setup might produce a modest amount of water in a single night. But over time, that adds up. And under the right conditions, with higher humidity or better positioning, the output increases significantly. What starts as a simple experiment quickly becomes something reliable, something you can count on. There is, however, one detail that makes all the difference, and it's something many people get wrong the first time. Positioning. It's not enough to just build the structure. You have to place it correctly. The direction of airflow matters. The angle matters. Even the height above the ground can influence how much water you collect. Air needs to move through the surface, not around it. The structure should be tilted just enough to allow gravity to guide the droplets downward without letting them evaporate too quickly. And then there's timing. The system works best when temperature changes create the right conditions for condensation. Nighttime is ideal because that's when the air cools. You set it up before the temperature drops, and by morning, the process has already happened. While everything else is still, while you're asleep, the air is slowly giving up its moisture, and your setup is quietly collecting it. What makes this even more fascinating is the scale of what's available. The atmosphere holds an enormous amount of water at any given moment, not in clouds, not in visible form, but dispersed as vapor. More than all the rivers combined, just floating above and around us, and yet very little of it is ever collected directly. It's an overlooked resource, not because it's inaccessible, but because most people never think to access it. And once you realize that, the perspective shifts. Water stops being something you only get from the ground or the sky during rain. It becomes something that's always present, always moving, always within reach. The difference is whether you have a way to capture it. Of course, there are practical considerations. The water collected is generally clean, but like any natural source, it can pick up particles from the surface it touches or the air around it. A simple filtration step is enough to address that. Basic materials layered together can remove impurities and make the water safe for use. It doesn't require specialized equipment or advanced knowledge. Just a small addition to the process that ensures consistency and safety. And at this point, something else becomes clear. This isn't just about water. It's about understanding systems that work quietly in the background, systems that don't rely on constant input or control, systems that operate based on conditions that already exist. Once you start seeing things this way, it changes how you approach problems. You begin to look for solutions that are already there, waiting to be used. Because the truth is, this method didn't disappear. It was simply set aside. As infrastructure improved and access became easier, the need to think this way faded. Water came from a tap, systems became centralized, and knowledge like this slowly moved into the background, not because it stopped working, but because it was no longer necessary for most people. Until now. And now, it's resurfacing. Not as a replacement, but as an option. As a reminder that there are other ways to approach basic needs, ways that are simple, reliable, and independent, ways that don't require permission or ongoing cost, just understanding and a willingness to try something different. So the next time you see condensation forming on a surface or dew covering the ground in the early morning, take a second look. Because what you're seeing is not just moisture, it's a process, a system that's always been there, quietly repeating itself. And now you know how to use it. If this changed the way you see the world around you, if it made you realize that something as simple as air can become a source of water, take a moment to share your thoughts. What surprised you the most? What part of this would you try first? Let it be known. And if you want to keep uncovering ideas like this, the kind that feel hidden in plain sight, make sure you stay connected. Because there's a lot more out there that works just as well, and almost no one is talking about it.